just a bit of the background for everyone here. I think some folk are aware, but some folk are less aware. Living Rent Tenants Union a couple of weeks ago launched our manifesto for the Scottish parliamentary elections in 2021, and core to that manifesto was the demand that vacant land should be prioritised for public housing. Now, I'm sure we're all aware of this site. It's got commanding views over the city, access to the Forth and Clyde Canal and the Kelvin, and it used to be a scheme. In the mid-noughties it was pulled down. Many people assert unnecessarily some of the scheme still stands at the base of the hill in Kelvindale Road. So Living Rent has called for vacant land to be prioritised for public housing. But in areas like this, where there used to be a scheme, we think it's a matter of restorative justice that public housing should be sited in places like this. And it was a great shame on many levels to note that this land was for sale, and we found out after we'd launched the manifesto. A shame because obviously this should be prioritised for public housing, but a shame on the council that they rushed out the sale of this land in a pandemic when none of us have our troubles to seek. So, very sleek it from the council. But more than that, what we found is that the Scottish Government intends to pay the developer to build 125 homes, bought houses. Now they say that that's to be affordable, and in the Evening Times today, in response to our vigil, they also say that don't worry, those homes will definitely go to first time buyers. Well, that's a piece of nonsense, because anyone can sell their house. What we know is that in this part of the city, in the Wynford and Gilsey Hill, low cost homes have been snapped up like that by private landlords. Buy to let housing is booming everywhere. In my street, where there's family sized houses that were bought under the Tory Right to Buy Act, we have HMOs coming in, private landlords parcelling up family sized homes into little box flats and renting them out for £750 a month. So that, I'm afraid, unless there's change, is going to be what will happen to this site here. So we've invited all of the candidates for the Holyrood elections to attend today, and I'm pleased to say we've got one with us in the form of Kieran, who I'll ask to say a few words after. But as I say, today is a vigil. It's a vigil for sure, but it's not a wake. This isn't a done deal. What we're calling for is for this sale to be halted and for a proper community consultation to begin on the future of this land, because there's so many people around here who used to stay here, so many people around here who value this site and don't want it parcelled off and privatised. So I would ask you, if you could, I say it's a vigil, it's a bit windy for candles, but if you have a phone, could you do me a little favour and could you turn the torch on? Can I ask that we have a minute's silence for the death of a working class community?
There as well, and it was a working class community. People said it was a bit rough, but no, it was a tight community. It wasn't really rough, it was just that people protected this community together, and that is what it was. And that's one of the reasons why Peter Mullen said that he actually picked the valley, because he knew the area and stuff, and it was just a lovely community. I left there after about 3-4 years of living there, I never had any trouble once. And I just came back up from England, so it's quite hard when you've got a twang in your accent. But everyone welcomed me with open arms.
And I worked at the BBC, and after 3 months I decided to like Glasgow, and I realised there was social housing. There was no social housing in England, and I lived for 15 years in Kalina Street flats, and I loved it. I'm transgender. Previously I used to work in the building trade, and I worked my way up to site manager, and I warned everybody around here, I said, what's going to happen is they're going to sell off your land. And people didn't believe me. This was 20 years ago. Yeah. Because I could see it as an outsider coming in. I could see the beauty of this area wedged between the River Kelvin and the fantastic Maryhill Locks. At that time they'd just finished doing work on the locks, and it turned from sort of like the rat catcher from Peter Mullen's film into something really magnificent. And the West End was obviously overcrowded. Partick and the West End had been built on. So it was just a case of when are they going to encroach on this beautiful area like the Dad's Army arrows coming across. And it's happened. It's happened. And they want to go all the way to the canal. That's where they want to go, all the way down there. It's obvious. They built the other side of the canal on a little piece of land a good few years back now. And this area, it isn't just that they're taking this area of social housing and they're destroying what was a working class community. I believe, this is my own personal belief, the whole of the Wynford is under threat. Every one of us in this area is under threat, as they've done here.
Let me just read you a quote from the City Council, just to underline that same. The wider project will transform the quality of housing in this part of the area, which has seen a number of new community centres and facilities open or be refurbished in recent years. And note this point: consultation with the public on plans for the site has already taken place. Well, I wonder if anyone here was asked whether this site should be sold off to private developers for exclusively bought housing. Was anyone asked? No. Were you consulted?
No.
Well, as far as the council is concerned, consultation has already taken place. Now, is there anyone else here that would like to say a few words? Thank you for your contribution.
More houses and better houses.
Right.
As well as
Just houses.
as well as
Well said.
Thanks, Jimmy.
living in nice houses.
I was born here in Maryhill 54 years ago, left for a long time and came back a few years ago. And growing up here, it really was like the film Ratcatcher that Emma mentioned. It was absolutely hellish. It's now the best place that I've ever lived, and I've lived in a lot of places in quite a few different countries. My American wife, when she first moved into the Wynford with me, she said that she wants to die here. Not soon, but she's die of old age. But this is a great community, and it's absolutely scandalous and cruel the way that the people who live here, the community, is being treated, and they're not going to stop. All the council cares about at this point is profit, and it's up to us to stop them. It's up to the community itself to say no, nobody's going to come in and do it for us. So that's why I'm glad we're all here. Thanks.
We have here a candidate for the Holyrood election.
Hi everyone, my name's Kieran O'Neill. I'm the Labour and Co-op candidate for next year's Holyrood election. I'm conscious it's pissing down, so I'll not speak for very long, but I just want to really say thanks very much to Nick and the Wynford Tenants Unions for the work they're doing here. I'm a living rent member myself. I live in Postle Park just up the road, but I did grow up in the Wynford. I went to St Gregory's. You know, this is a great community, and you know, I think reading out that section of the council document shows where council officers got it wrong, because there already is a vibrant community here. There already is, you know, people working together trying to make it a better place, and nobody here doesn't want more houses built in this land. I don't think there is a real demand for housing in this city, but the fact that it is being potentially sold off to a private developer that won't invest in the community in the midst of a global pandemic is something that is right to be annoyed about, something to be frustrated about. And it's not just here in the valley where it's happening in Rockhill, not far from where I'm staying, it's happening all across the city, and it's happening in the middle of a global pandemic, and that is not acceptable. So I suppose I'm here to listen. It's great to see so many people out here. You know, right now is a pretty miserable time, but when you come out on a rainy day and people are standing up and saying, "Not here, not again," it is really inspiring. So, you know, I think going forward what we need to do is we need to try and stop the sale, and we need to make it very clear to the council that, yeah, we do want houses built here, and, you know, we want more people coming. You know, I think there's a lot of people that grew up here that would love to come back here and buy their own house, but there's also people here that wouldn't be able to afford the extortionate rate that want to get a new house. And also I think the risk that Nick's highlighted, you know, rogue buy-to-let landlords is a real one, and we see it everywhere. I don't know how these people, you know, sleep at night. You know, some of the things we've seen during this crisis, the behaviour of some rogue landlords is pretty despicable.
That's why Living Rent Tenants Union is calling for vacant land like this to be prioritised for public housing. And where there was public housing before, like here, it's a matter of restorative justice that they build the public housing back. Because as Kieran said, why did they knock the houses down? The identical houses are at the bottom of the hill. You'd almost think it was because of the land value.
I'm involved in things locally to here, sort of, so that other things that are going on that are hideous, and I don't know about this, and I feel that there's a real need for us to even like use a hub, like, I don't know if the Borough Halls is appropriate, or like the White House, you know, and that things are more campaigned and brought together, because what we're going to do is have a year of action towards the climate change. We want to start today when it was meant to be, and there's a lot of people that are very active, wanting the best for this area and not knowing about this. And I just think that there should be, you know, I wouldn't have known about it apart from being in the cafe, and there needs to be some way that we come together, or that people put loads of information and have put their names down in the cafe. They'd be happy for us to do that. That we start collecting more and come together as a collective, that it's not just about housing, it's sort of like, it's not just the council there's what they're doing, because to get rid of things and use things, is that they're creating other organisations that it then goes through, that we get to hear nothing about it. So we need to come together as a community and sort of not be separate.
I quite agree, madam. I quite
So,
agree.
how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with, obviously we would have raised hell about this before. We'd heard, but the council are trying to sell this land off in the midst of a pandemic. None of us have our troubles to seek right now.
How does everybody get to know, to build, to get bigger, to
Well,
sort
we're all
of
here
that we
now.
can't ignore?
We're all here now.
So what's the next step?
So
How do we make
that is the key point. What's the next step?
Yeah.
So obviously, as you say, madam, we need to reach out and reach more people, and I think the next step has to be petitions.
Right.
So it's a challenge in the pandemic, because we don't want to go door to door, we don't want to be inside, and we don't want to get in each other's faces. But we need some way of gathering more details and showing the strength of feeling on the matter. So I think on Monday and Tuesday, if anyone would like, we could start doing a bit of petition work. Right? Stop the sale!
Stop the sale!
Stop the sale! Stop the sale! Stop the sale!
Stop the sale!